everybody, Ben Woodruff here with another Falconry video. Today's video I'm going to be talking about illegal prey. What does that mean? Well, it's an interesting subject, so let's talk about this. And kind of keep your mind open, because you got to understand whatever cultural norms you are used to, whatever cultural norms you've been taught or grown up with when you were introduced to a sport, become what you think is normal. But I want you to think through the lens of biology. So this could apply to any raptor species used in falconry, but really I'm kind of honing in this argument when it comes to micro-hawking. So let's say, for example, you're a falconer, and let's say you're flying a Cooper's hawk, or a sharp-shinned hawk, an American kestrel, or a merlin, or a Eurasian sparrowhawk. Okay, any of these birds are kind of fall, even an oplomado falcon, they kind of fall into the micro-hawking realm, where it's a smaller bird and you're hunting smaller prey. So with that, there's sort of, you got to think about in the wild, like especially if you trap a bird from the wild, you trap a migrating merlin or a kestrel, or maybe you get a passage Cooper's hawk. This bird in the wild is hunting every single day of its life, and probably multiple times a day. And whatever prey it is able to catch within its area, it's going to catch and it's going to eat. We understand that. We culturally know that. And we biologically understand this is nature. This is the circle of life. Now, birders might not like that. Let's say you have a nice bird feeder in your backyard and you have all these really cool species come. You just enjoy watching them. And you don't realize that your bird feeder is also a bird feeder for the bigger birds. You have a Cooper's hawk in your neighbor's yard sitting watching, and it's watching the bird feeder, and it takes off and it ducks down in the last minute, goes up and over your fence, and boom, catches the bird at your bird feeder and eats it. But still, whether you like that or not, that's nature. That's just nature. So in the United States, I live in northern Utah, and in my area in the United States, with our laws, we have the Migratory Bird Treaty Act that protects just about every bird in one way or another, but sometimes in strange ways. Sometimes non-native birds are protected, and sometimes native species aren't protected. It's very unusual. But when it comes to micro-hawking, there's two species that are normally pursued and that they encourage us to pursue. These are non-native introduced species that actually cause a lot of ecological problems for our native species. The first one is the English sparrow, or sometimes it's called the house sparrow. Yeah, very common, very fun to hunt. The other species is the European starling. Now, if you're on the other side of the pond, if you're in Europe, it might seem strange because I know a lot of people have a great love for European starlings. But in the United States, they are a huge problem. They have outcompeted and outpaced so many of our native species, and they cause very big problems. And they're hunted in the wild by our raptors. So we also like to hunt them. Merlin falconers especially love to have merlins chase and work an entire flock. It's beautiful to watch. It's like a shark working a whole school of fish. Then they go big and small, and the shark boom, gets one, or a dolphin doing that. It's just like that, but in the sky. So those are two species we can go after. Another non-native in my area is the ring-necked dove, which is a non-native species that's really kind of been pushing out some of our native species. That's one they encourage us to hunt with no permits beyond our falconer permit. But there's also protected species that with an upland game hunting permit that we can hunt. For example, a mourning dove, very common species, less common now since the ring-necked doves have been pushing them out, but with their seasons, bag limits for those. There are many species of quail as well that with the proper permits are a lot of fun to hunt. It's one of my favorite things to hunt with an oplomado falcon or a Cooper's hawk. So there's a few species we can hunt. Well, here's the thing about that. What if your bird is, you flush up a flock of sparrows and your Cooper's hawk is going after them and it banks off and it catches a robin or a flicker or a Steller's jay? Then what? Well, technically, if there was an officer watching, which can happen, they're in the field looking around, keeping an eye, make sure everybody's doing things right, and they could come over and be like, you hunted and killed a protected bird from the Migratory Bird Treaty Act list. I'm going to give you a citation, and the judge might throw a $10,000 fine at you. You're like, wait a minute, what? And here's wherein lies the problem. And here's where I suggest a shift of thinking. I am not saying let's go out and hunt illegally, but I'm trying to get a discussion for when it comes to talking about these kind of laws with law enforcement, with lawmakers, and with falconers, with birders. And the problem with this is that falconry is regulated like a gun hunting sport, which it is not. Okay, if you have a gun, you better darn well, or bow, crossbow in some areas, you better darn well know when you pull the trigger what you're pointing at. You know, right? Okay, my area for the gun hunt, shotgun hunt, hen pheasant, rooster pheasant. We can hunt roosters, we can't hunt hens. And even with that explosive pheasant jumping up, you are expected to be able to identify and know, nope, it's a hen, don't shoot it. Or it's a rooster, okay, you can go after it. That's not the way with a bird. A bird of prey is like, let's see, what's in season, what has no season, and what is illegal no matter what. Oh, I better only go after that one. A bird doesn't do that. They're just looking to hunt. Now, with bigger prey species, some of the ducks, like let's say you have a peregrine falcon that dives and you're going after pigeons and it banks off and kills a duck out of season. Some states will have laws where it's called the let it lie laws, where your bird can feed up on the carcass, but you have to leave the carcass there and you let it lay. You let that carcass lay and you're like, hey, it was an accident, my bird, But what I'm saying is that we should not be looking at a bird as a gun or a weapon. They're living things. And if they were still in the wild, they would be hunting every day. No matter how much you hunt, you're not going to get as much airtime and hunting time with you and as many kills with your microbird as it would have had to have done in the wild to survive. So in other words, if in the wild your Cooper's hawk hunted this many songbirds, with you it's only going to hunt this many. So even the impact is less. Why this bothers me, the real reason why this bothers me is because of cats, right? I don't know why, but we make some exceptions culturally for cats. We say, okay, well, cats, they're not native. They're a domesticated species, and like, oh, the cat wants to go out. Yeah, I'll bet it does. So does your dog. You don't let your dog go running around the neighborhood killing cats. But we're like, oh, it's a cat. It wants to go out in the fields and go into other people's yards. It wants to kill mice and rats and birds. They kill so many birds. They've even eradicated certain species of birds in the United States. And if you're a cat owner, cats love to just bring it to your doorstep and be like, here's what I killed last night. It's almost like a gift for you. And we're like, oh, I don't know why, but culturally we've just said, oh, you know what? If a cat illegally kills birds on the Migratory Bird Treaty Act list, it's just a cat being a cat. Okay, the cat isn't even wild. If I trap a Cooper's hawk, train it, fly it for a season, it's from the wild, and I'll probably release it back into the wild after a season. And that would be normal for that Cooper's hawk to catch a blue jay or a Steller's jay or a scrub jay, to catch a flicker or a robin or a meadowlark. That's totally normal. And it was doing it before I caught it. It's going to be doing it after I caught it. Now, it may be normal to the instincts of a cat, but it is not normal for a domesticated cat that comes originally from the Middle East and Northern Africa, has been domesticated. It is not normal for that cat from the other side of the world in domesticated form to be killing a blue jay in my yard. But we're just like, it's fine. It's a cat being a cat. What are you going to do? They're kind of wild. Not as wild as a Cooper's hawk. So, again, the point of this video is not to say, so, therefore, this justifies go out and illegally hunt prey that's protected. Don't do that, and you're going to get in trouble. But what I am saying is, in discussions, let's talk about the biology and the principles, both not only with fellow falconers, but with birding groups. Let's step back and say, hey, what is this really? And maybe someday when there are open discussions with lawmakers, maybe something can be done about this. It really should be, even to your sensibilities, this may seem like, oh no, this would be wrong. But no, it should be totally fine. It can be regulated, but it should be totally fine to take a Cooper's hawk and go off and hunt a blue jay. It would be perfectly fine to, oh, hey, my American kestrel dove into a bunch of house finch sparrows and caught a house finch or caught a goldfinch. And oh no, what do you mean? Oh no, it's what they do in the wild. So let's talk about this, and let's talk about this in the comments. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. And again, my main point about this is to create awareness of it so that we can have some biologically fueled discussions in the birding community, in the lawmaker community, in the falconry community, instead of emotional based conversations or cultural norms, because these aren't norms. We've just made them such. So just wanted to share that. Thought it was kind of an interesting thought. Hope you found this interesting. If you haven't already, if you could please hit subscribe, I very much appreciate it. And as always, happy hawking.